Okay, so let's go back to the web browser, and this is a 4G device. So we have PhoneDog loading up right now, and we'll wait for it to load. One of the nice things about about the UI is that you also have some nice transitions in the web browser. Of course, it's not going to be very smooth right now since it's loading, but okay, we'll see. Yeah, pretty choppy. So that's probably not the best example of what I'm talking about by those transitions, but you kind of get an idea of basically how it's supposed to look. There we go, that's a little more smooth. Well, anyway, it does have some nice transitions, trust me, and then like I said, you can see some of the lag that I was talking about earlier. But pinch to zoom is you can see it kind of is a little laggy, it's a little choppy, a little unresponsive. And of course this is an Android device, and so it supports Flash, and so I have full Flash content loaded right now. So with all of that Flash content plus PhoneDog.com being a pretty intense site in terms of content, you can see it's suffering a lot, and so zooming in, panning around, it's going to be kind of a difficult experience. Now obviously it's going to help a lot if you turn off Flash content, which is what I would recommend if you're going to get this phone, at least if you're going to be loading a lot of pages where there's going to be ads. So if we go to plugins, on demand, and then we'll refresh this, and then we'll see how much better it is without having that Flash content loaded. Okay, so PhoneDog.com has finished loading. Again, you can see the Flash content is now turned off. And immediately you'll notice a big difference in pinch to zoom. It's just a lot more smooth. Still not perfect though. And so, again, going back to the processor performance, you can see it's much better, but it still kind of hangs a little bit. And then of course this is with the Flash and the plugins turned off. So, just to get an idea of how the web browser performs. So let's go over to the speed test app. And you can take a look at some of my results here. I've actually gotten pretty good results with this phone. You can see 5.2 for, I even had a high of 7.7, then a couple of lows of 2.7, and then almost 5. That's not really too low. And interestingly, I'm also testing out the myTouch Q. This isn't a dogfight. But the myTouch and the myTouch Q, pretty much brother and sister devices, same network, basically the same phone, but I've gotten significantly slower speeds on the myTouch Q, and I'm not entirely sure why. So, but it just goes to show you that these speeds may not be what you get. Your speeds may be faster, they may be slower. It just varies depending on coverage and different things like that. But in the Dallas area where I've been testing it in several different parts of the Dallas area, I've been pretty impressed with the 4G speeds on the phone. One more note on data: the phone can act as a mobile hotspot for up to 8 devices. So that's a nice feature to have. Now on the back here, we have the camera. It's a 5 megapixel camera. As you can see, no flash, but it does have an autofocus. And then this captures 720p HD video. And then on the front of the phone, you can see we have a front-facing camera. So you can use that for video chatting or self-portraits if you just want to take a bunch of pictures of yourself. And so the HD video capture, Aaron has uploaded an HD video sample to our YouTube channel. It's also on PhoneDog.com, so you can take a look at that and judge for yourself with the quality, if the quality is adequate for you. But let's go over to the gallery and we'll take a look at some pictures here and wait for it to populate the gallery. Okay, so we'll take a look at some sample pictures, and for the most part I've been pretty pleased with the performance of the camera. Colors, as you can see, show up very well, and of course a lot of that is aided by the fact that we have an AMOLED display, so automatically the colors are going to look more saturated. But you can see the colors just show up very well. This is with sunlight, and then with natural lighting, and then with indoor lighting, and then in kind of a low lit room. So even with all of these lighting conditions, you can see that the result is basically the same, which is a good thing. You want the picture to look good even in certain low lighting conditions. And then you can see an outside shot, the colors saturated very well. The only complaint I have about the camera is detail. The detail is not very good, you know, especially when you zoom in, not even that close, you already notice that it's lacking in detail. And then certain pictures with darker, with images that are kind of, you know, darker colors, you're going to notice more noise as well. You know, considering it's a mid-range device, I was satisfied with it, and it lived up to my expectations considering the, you know, the type of the device, the price, you know, camera, the megapixel count, lens quality. It suited my expectations, and then you can see those pictures, and again, also the video capture sample, and then see if it's up to your expectations, if it's good enough for you. So around the back of the phone, if we take off the battery cover, first of all, you notice the speaker is right here on the bottom left side, which is a little unique. You know, usually you see it sometimes on the bottom. Usually it's right up here next to the camera, but it's actually on the bottom side. So that's something to take note of, but you know, not a big deal. But underneath the battery cover, we have the battery, of course, and SIM card, micro SD card slot, and it ships with a 2 gig card. So we'll take that out so you can take a look at it. Ships with a 2 gig card, and then with that slot, it supports up to 32 gigs of external memory. So the nice thing, you know, about having this SD card slot is that, you know, the phone comes pre-installed with a lot of apps, you know, a lot of T-Mobile apps, or just, you know, apps that LG decided to install, and you can't uninstall them. So things like, you know, 411 and more bonus apps. You do get Bejeweled, and then you have My Account, My Device, More for Me, Lookout Security. So, you know, these apps set up T-Mobile Name ID, T-Mobile TV. You can't uninstall those, and so those are taking up memory, but at least you have this SD card slot where you can add more memory if you'd like to. Now the phone ships with a 1540 milliamp hour battery, and battery life, you know, it's one of those things, it's going to vary so much depending on usage habits. And so, you know, being a 4G device, don't expect the battery life to be excellent. You know, generally 4G devices, the battery tends to drain a lot more quickly. And then just, you know, Android itself is a very battery intensive operating system because you have so many apps running in the background, you have multitasking. And so, you know, for me, in testing out the myTouch, I was able to generally get through a day, and that's starting in the morning and then all the way into the evening. So it wasn't a 24-hour day, but just a 12-hour day. I was able to use the phone normally with messaging and some web browsing into the evening, and then of course I had to charge it every night, and then sometimes I had to charge it, you know, even before I went to bed, just sometime in the evening. So, you know, battery life was decent. You know, it could have been better if it had a larger battery. That would be nice. But again, you know, keep in mind, battery life, again, it's going to vary depending on your usage habits. So lastly, let's talk about this Genius button really quickly. The interesting thing is that you don't have a physical Genius button, which is strange because most of these myTouch devices, they did have a dedicated button. Again, going back to the myTouch Q, you can see it has one right there in the corner, and most of the other myTouch devices have also. But with this one you don't, you know, not a big deal because you have the shortcut. And the Genius button is very handy because, let's see, I don't want you to listen to what I'm saying. It's very handy because you can use it hands-free, for hands-free operation while you're driving. So you can call someone, send a text, search the web, get directions, and you can see right now while we're in car mode, so you can just have this, you know, laying out on the dashboard or something, or in a dock, and then you can say Genius button, and it will start listening to what you're saying without pressing any buttons. And then just even, you don't have to use it while you're in car mode. You can just open it from the home screen and then say, find directions to Starbucks. And it will hear me and see if it can get directions. Searching for Starbucks. So there you say it'll find your direction, find your location, and give you directions to Starbucks. So it actually works pretty well. You know, it's not as advanced as other services like Siri. You know, it's not going to be able to understand everything you're saying, and I did have a couple of problems, you know, here and there. But for the most part, I've been pretty impressed with it. It understood most of what I was saying, and it's just a nice little feature to have. So that's the Genius button. Again, that's something that comes only with the myTouch devices. You can't get that with any other device. So it's a nice feature to have, and I thought it worked pretty well. So that's pretty much it, guys, with the myTouch by LG from T-Mobile. Thanks guys for watching. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter and ask me a question about this phone or any other device, my screen name is phonedog_Sydney, and I'll try to answer any questions that you have to the best I can. But thanks guys for watching. I'm Sydney from phonedog.com, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.